it got to a point where we both were like, we need to do something again. We're always being like, I want to do this. I want to do this. Then freaking do it.
It's better to find those few good quality people that you know that you can rely on.
Sometimes we don't get told a lot of things about production, which is totally fine. That's why I learned the side of production things, because I found that that was important for me as an actor to understand, what if there is no backup plan? What if this is the plan, like, and the backup plan? Because I literally can't think of what else I would do in life.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond the Cut. Thank you guys so much for joining episode 4. And this is for this episode. I'm my friend Bryanna. I'm really excited to see the conversations that we'll be having. Bryanna, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name is Bryanna Fraser. I am an actress, a director, writer, producer, and a first AD. And I've been part of this industry, or doing this at least kind of on and off since like middle school, but really hunkered down whenever 2023 happened. And I graduated from KD Conservatory in 2024. So since then, I've just been doing it ever since. So
yeah, what really got you into film in the first place?
Ooh, okay. That's fun, because when I was in middle school, I joined theater. I was a very shy kid. And so I very much was just doing it with friends. And then, because I was also mainly in band. And so then when high school hit, I had to choose one or the other. And I decided to do band. And then when I was 16, I was watching a lot of behind the scenes footage of like movie sets, and a little part of me missed it. And I also was like, that looks so much, like, it looks so fun. And I missed it a little bit. And also I read a lot. And so I love stories and I love characters. And it really wasn't until that switch happened when I was 16 where I was like, I'm really missing that again. I miss having that with friends, that like character, like bringing it to life in a story. Mm-hmm. I'm always reading it, but I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it as a person. And so I then had to make a decision. Okay, do I keep doing band, or do I do theater, or do I try to do both? So I tried both in junior year. And then when I hit my senior year, I said, okay, I have to choose one or the other. And I decided to do theater. And then I said, yeah, no, I'm going to pursue this. And I went to college with that mindset. And then COVID happened and it shut everything down. Yeah. And at the time I was at Collin College, and I was like, okay, everything's shut down. That's okay. I just started a new job at a fast food place, and I was thinking, it's fine. It's okay. Maybe it'll open up in the next couple months. Obviously a year goes by, and then technically another year goes by. And I thought it was like over for me for this industry with acting, because I had opened the door for myself, and then it kind of got shut down and I didn't know how to get back in. And it wasn't until I hit a point in my life, especially with the fast food job I was working, that I was like, I can't stay stuck. I hate doing the same thing every day. I don't like what this is doing to me. So I have to do something. And my calling has always been the creative side of things. And so I was like, I have to do it. And the only way I could think of was like, I have to go back to school. And so in 2022, I went back to school just to get my basics out of the way, like the psychology credit, my English credit, and there was another credit I was doing, but I wanted to get that out of the way. And then that's when I discovered KD Conservatory. And actually my godfather went there, and he graduated there in the 90s. And so he kind of told me about it, but I kind of like pushed it off because I didn't know if that was the route I wanted to go. And I decided to take a tour of the place, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this, but let me get my credits out of the way. So I actually toured it
Mhm.
in June of 2022, and I didn't start until February of 23. And then did that for 15 months back to back, 2-week break, and then graduated in May of 2024. And that's in that time span, I got to relearn my craft. I got to meet what I call now is my newfound family, my people and everything, and make great connections. And I also got my agent through them as well. But the biggest thing was that was eye opening for me was that I was good at this, and that
Mhm.
this was something that was made for me, and that I shouldn't shy away from it. I shouldn't downgrade myself for it. This is me. And so
Yeah.
that's a little bit of the origin story.
No, that's great. I think that's really inspiring because I think all of us have our own, especially in the creative field, our own different journey. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I do. It's definitely challenging when there are definitely so many different roadblocks, and you're just like,
Hmm.
how am I supposed to make this dream a reality? Because it's very discouraging when those doors seem to be closing. But then
Yeah,
when one door closes, another one opens.
exactly. Exactly.
And
And
so
like, oh no, you go ahead.
no, I mean I think I'm walking through that right now because
Hmm.
I'm on the tail end of finishing up college right now, and
Yeah.
I need to figure out what is my next step. Like I have 1 year left, and I'm like, my plan A was to be able to run my production company full time after I graduate. But then I slowly began to realize as that window of graduation date was quickly closing in that I'm just like, I gotta figure out a way to pay off my tuition like as quickly as possible because
Yeah.
it's like, at least for me, my mentality is I don't like the idea of debt, and
Yeah.
I want to be able to invest everything that I have outside of personal expenses and paying off my debt to be reinvested back into my business as quickly as possible. And trying to figure out what that looks like has been quite a challenge because I'm just like
Yeah.
a good majority of the people that I've interviewed thus far. And that's also another reason why I started this in the first place because
Hmm.
obviously I love having conversations with people, but I also wanted
Yeah.
to hear from people who are experienced, who have been in the field, what their journeys look like, and how that can potentially help me, who's somebody who's like, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I need to figure out something within the next year.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah.
I will say, like, I feel you on the whole debt thing. I personally am still dealing with debt, not only school, but just like car and some credit card debt due to personal reasons. But it it was very hard for me too at the time frame when it all started happening, because it definitely happened, especially during COVID. And then once I started school, it like stuff just kept happening, and I was pursuing this dream, and I was thinking, am I even worth to pursue this dream? Because I have to be realistic here. I have to like have a job that's paying the bills. This one is obviously not, which is, it is what it is. Like that's just how the industry goes.
Yeah.
Um, but I was like, do I give up on it, or do I keep going? And again, I had the support around me of my newfound family, and they kept pushing me and driving me. And even on the days where I wanted to quit school and just be like, I can't do this anymore because I have to work a job and pay this debt and take care of things, they just kept pushing me. And I honestly wouldn't know what I don't know what I would do without them.
Mhm.
And I'm honestly still dealing with it. I'm not gonna lie. I work at a full-time place right now where I have benefits. I'm an adult finally, but I've been saving up for an apartment. I've been paying off things and everything like that, and I thought I would have to put off things, but I just had to reconfigure my, I guess, like schedule obviously is one thing, but like my mindset of like,
Mhm.
this job that you're working, yes, you're working a job, it's, you're paying bills with it, but you're working your job, which is the
Yeah.
career, it's the industry. And there are days where I want to give up on both the industry, but also my job. And they coincide together. But I'm like, hey, it's okay. You're going to have bad days. And again, I have those people and that support around me. And it's okay to have patience and grace, because the more you rush something, the more you'll be blindsided, is what I'm thinking. Like, when I especially got my agent, I kind of tried to rush the process, because I wasn't getting sent anything for a good couple months, or if anything was like one for 1 month and then maybe two for the next month. And I was thinking, why is my agent not sending me anything? And Raya's my best friend. Raya had to be like, it's okay. You actually, like, you literally just signed with her. Like, it doesn't mean that she's not sending you anything. The industry could be dried up, or she is sending you new stuff, but they don't want to see anything else, or stuff like that. And once the 6-month mark hit, I was like, oh, you're so right. Because then after that, I started getting a bunch of auditions, and I was like, whoa. And so me and her, we decided to start tracking our auditions, and we were like, let's just see how much we get for the year, but also each month. And we did. And there's some months where we got over 10, and then there's some months we only got 2. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes on those months when I got the 2, I was like, thank goodness, because I was busy with so much other personal stuff and things that I just needed a break. And Goose got a little cameo behind us.
Yeah. He's a part of the
He's part of the industry. He's actually a cat model. I think this is Raya's cat. She actually of him for a calendar, and they accepted him, so you might see him very soon. I'm not gonna lie.
Nice.
Goose, get down. You're so silly. Get down. Okay. Anyways, he's fine. But yeah. So, and even too, on top of that, the whole production company thing. Me and Raya, we started one, Olive Oil Productions. And we started that when we were in school, still at KD, when we were trying the film program. And then personal reasons happened, and we had to kind of drop out of the program, and we kind of were silent with Olive Oil. Like, she was dealing with stuff, I was dealing with stuff, and it got to a point where we both were like, we need to do something again. We need to. We're always being like, I want to do this. I want to do this. Then freaking do it. And so we were just like, okay, let's start making a plan. And unfortunately, plans, it takes time, and scheduling is the biggest thing. And having that grace for yourself, that like, it's okay if it's going to take a minute. And even now, we're still making projects and still planning things out, and we're again having to be kind of realistic, because you don't want to rush anything. You don't want to rush yourself, you don't want to rush people, but you especially don't want to rush the story. So that's something that we learned and dived into together. And I also, mindset wise too, is like, at the end of the day, I'm doing this for myself. Like, yes, I want to showcase and show to people like my ideas and my story, but if I'm not able to do that for myself, then who am I going to do that for? Like, who am I showcasing it to? So that's always been my biggest factor, especially with social media. I post whenever I feel like it, because I find it's like more like my diary, and I'm like, I'm not posting for the people, I'm posting for myself. And so if I don't feel like posting, I don't feel like posting. If I do want to post, I will post. Like, at the end of the day, it's for me, because if I feel comfortable and nice and good, then I know it's going to go that way with other people, or at least that when they see it, so they can feel an ease and a grace as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, I really think that's important to, at least for us, individuals, that, you know, we don't do it for other people. We don't do it for the satisfaction of others, because they're not going to be with us when stuff hits the fan, or maybe they will. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's really just you, and you have to be able to be content with who you are as a person before the right people show up for you and with you. And you know, I think that's why I'm currently struggling with, per se, because I'm just like, I was able to build up a good network while I was gone at it, it's been interesting at UNT because
Mm-hmm.
like I really enjoy the program, but because I'm a transfer student, they have me doing a lot of prereqs, and so I really can't take any those production classes until my senior year, and so it's just like it's either I like it or I don't. And I mean, those classes are way more intense, like way more involved, and I'm anticipating having to travel to campus way more days than I would like. Like my
Yeah.
my schedule is Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's been good for me. But I mean, it's a 45-minute commute each way, so it's like
Ooh.
trying to build um, the right network of people has been challenging. I've been able to connect with a few people, but to me, it's not always about quantity; it's more about the quality of people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because you can have a million friends, but
Yep.
I just think that um, it's better to find those few good quality people that you know that you can rely on than
Mm-hmm.
the many people. Because like um, last September, me and my friend decided to um, work on a short film that my friend had always wanted to work on a movie and submit it into a film festival. He never had the necessary resources or knew the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knew that I did, and that was he knew that I built up a network of people through um, the few electives that I had taken, and so he knew that I was able to build up those connections. And so, literally, timeline wise, I had just finished up my internship at a church. I was a live production intern, and it just felt right to kind of end that season of life and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And then literally like that next weekend, he comes to me. He's like, "Hey, do you want to go out to lunch? I think I have a pretty good idea." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know what it was about until he told
Yeah.
me about it. But I'm just this is this is great. I mean, and then I'm saying all this because I reached out to my personal network, and when it started out, it's just me and him grew to about 25 people in our group. But
Nice.
it was great at first, right? When we were in pre-production process, it was great. Um, I could tell that people were involved. I kind of took on the role of executive producer because I
Yeah.
think because of my mom, I've always had this like project manager mindset of like I'm the overseer. I can see the overarching picture and what needs to happen from pre-production to post-production. I can see that. But then over time, people would just kind of stop showing up to the weekly meetings. They weren't saying anything on the group me. I had asked during our production days, like guys, like if you're able to come and show up for like 1 to 2 hours, like we really could use help. We need help with
Mm-hmm.
X, Y, and Z, and there'd just be none. I'm not holding it against them or anything like that, but you know, we all have different priorities, and to me, this was a very high priority because I'm just like, this is kind of the first of many steps for me, and this just feels like one really big step. What can I do to steward what God has given me? And this seemed like a really good opportunity. So let me just see. But at the end of the day, it's not the same level of priority for everybody else as it was for me. So
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out what that's going to look like for everybody else, and then being like, that's okay. You have your thing and I have my thing. And if we can work on a project in the future, great. If not, that's okay. But
Yeah.
it's finding those quality people that that you can rely on through thick and thin. You know, um, I think that's really really important. I'm really happy that you or have been able to find your group of people and be able to find someone to start your production company with. I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I will to jump on that. Yeah, like communication is the biggest thing in this industry. And
yeah,
I think people need to understand that on both sides, both as an actor and on the production side of things, because if you can't communicate, then you can't have a structured anything, honestly,
yeah,
because even if you can, like, as long as you can communicate, say like, hey, I'm sorry, I thought I could do this project, I can't. that's okay. Please don't ghost. Like, that's all that anyone asks for. And especially like on the actor side of things, like as an actor, sometimes we don't get told a lot of things about production, which is totally fine. That's why I learned the side of production things, because I found that that was important for me as an actor to understand what happens before filming, during filming, and after filming. Because I'm I'm waiting around for a product and I'm like, well, what's taking so long? Well, it's because of XYZ. And that's
Yeah.
why doing the little bit of the program at Katie that I did, it was so eye-opening, because our first semester we had to film. We had to, like, we personally, like me myself, I had to be director, I had to be camera, which I kind of cheated on that a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. But I had to be camera, I had to be editor, I had to be sound edit, I had to be composer, I had to be first AD, I had to be producer. Like, I had to be all of these roles. And in order to understand them, I had to sit in them. I had to wear the many hats, as one will say. And communication is the biggest thing. And as long as you can just communicate to me an update of something, that's all I ask for. Because I very much am someone that would feel bad if I had to call out, or if I'm usually the one that's like, I will figure it out. I'll suck it up. I said yes, da da da. But I finally hit a point in my life where I was like, boundaries. Boundaries are very important. And
Yeah.
you do have to take care of yourself. And you can help people as much as you can, and you want to see the good. But if it's going to affect you really badly, and it might affect the production, or at least like that person's vision, or just what they're feeling, maybe take a step back and say, hey, listen, and then just give and be honest. And if people were, compassionate and empathetic and everything, they'll be okay and understanding. I know I am. Like, sometimes it sucks. Obviously, it's going to suck. But I'd rather someone tell me instead of leaving me in the wind and having me figure it out and everything. Because that's your reputation, but it's also someone else's reputation. Because if someone's like, hey, I'm looking for a sound person, but your sound person that you were going to use flaked on you, and then someone else like picked it up, well, I'm going to go with the person that picked it up and communicated with me, and not someone who kind of flaked on me, And also just own up and have accountability. Like, just own
Yeah.
up to your stuff. And when you do mess up or anything, like, obviously it's not going to fix what happened in the past, but it can at least mend going forward for future projects and everything.
Yeah.
And also, to go on to like the whole school thing, trust me, no hate to anyone that does university or does stuff like that, but when I was doing Colin and then I discovered KD, that was also a switch for me, because for the longest time I thought, oh, I needed to go to a university, I need to go for 4 years, and I need to get this kind of degree. After experiencing KD, which is a trade school, I was like, I don't need university. I don't need to be in that much debt, because I just want to learn my craft. I don't care about biology. I don't care about the math curriculums. Like, I don't care about that. That's not what's going to help me right here and then and now for my career. And so I was like, I just want to do acting. And so Katie gave me that. And so obviously, depending on your career path, a university is the route to go. But for film, sometimes I'm like, y'all don't need to go for 4 years, or y'all don't need to do 6 years, stuff like that. Like, if you're already in that, it is what it is. It's okay. And if that's what you want to do, that's totally fine as well, because everyone's going to be different with their school learning and everything. But with KD, it's such a small, intimate space and a building that I was able to work so diligently and work constantly on my craft, and especially with the people that were around me, instead of being in a space that had like 50 plus people, or in, like, in your case, having to wait till your senior year and everything, and you're
Yeah.
like, am I losing what I was taught, kind of? Like, what's going on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I could go on and on about school because, I mean, at this point, I've only got 1 year left. There's not really a point in quitting.
Exactly.
Um, but also, I yeah, no, I mean, if you really think about it, all the famous and successful directors, producers, writers, they didn't go to school. They
Yeah.
didn't get a degree most of the time. I mean, one of my biggest inspirations is Christopher Nolan. He couldn't get into a filmmaking academy. And
Yeah.
so, at least for me, I'm just like, you know what? It really doesn't matter to me. This is kind of just like my backup plan.
Yeah.
Um, because plan A is hopefully still to be able to run my business, but plan B is using that degree to get a full time job and
Yeah.
be able to fund this business and see if it leads to anything. Because
Yeah.
if it can replace like a full time salary and it's consistent and it's sustainable, I'm going to do that. Like
Oh,
there's no
100%.
hesitation.
100%. I mean, that's what I told my job when I became full time. Like, obviously, that's my priority. Sorry, I keep thinking this light is gonna fall. That was my priority. Was like, hey guys, yes, I need benefits, I need money. This is the job that's paying me, but my acting and my production stuff comes first. And so if I do get a gig, like I'm gonna try to work it out, but that's my priority. And they were very understanding. Like, even because I started off as part time and then became full time, and they were very understanding of it. Obviously, there's some stuff I can't really get away with 100% without like maybe some consequences, but they're really nice. Like, they're not rude. And like fast food, we used to work fast food, hated it,
Yeah.
absolutely
Mhm.
despised it. All the people that work fast food, I praise you. You're doing great. Okay. All the customers that treat you like garbage, ignore them. Just keep on
Yeah.
grinding away. It's okay.
Yeah.
Um, there will be light at the end of the tunnel.
Mhm.
But yeah, I love my job. I love the people that are there. It's very like small, and it's slow paced and everything. So I really do enjoy it, especially since I get benefits, so I can actually survive in this world. So,
Yeah.
but they're really open and flexible and like curious about this industry and like my path and everything, and it helps me drive even more forward because, like you said, having a salary job and maybe you can funnel it to like go into the production company. That's basically what's kind of happening with me and Rhea. We're getting these big girl jobs, quote unquote, and we're like, okay, we have to pay our projects somehow. Like, not only just with crowdfunding, but we just have to pay our projects somehow. And
Yeah.
so we're like, you know what? Let's uh let's just grind away. Let's just do what we can do and build connections with people and do favors. Like, if someone helps us with our project, we're totally going to help them with theirs and everything like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Where did you work for fast food?
I worked at mainly Mod Pizza.
Mm.
Absolutely hated it. I was a manager for like almost 2 years,
Oh
and
my god.
it was bad because I started that job a month before COVID happened, and it was paying good at the time. At the time,
Mhm.
it doesn't pay good now, but at the time it was paying great. And when COVID happened, I was a new worker, so they obviously like cut a bunch of people's hours. And I was like, I can't lose this job. I can't lose the job. I can't look for another one, especially with everything closing. And
Yeah.
I took one shift from someone, and my manager saw that, and he was like, oh, can you work all these other shifts? And I was like, heck yeah, I can. And that's when it kind of spiraled, because then I was working so many hours and I was getting all this money. And um, there was one point, I think a 2 week worth, I worked 99 hours. Like, I would just open and close, open and close, open and close, maybe not open, but I would close. And it was just this constant back and forth of doing the same thing, dealing with the same type of people, especially during COVID. And I kind of lost myself. because I didn't know who I was anymore, because I was this person with literally a mask. I had a mask on, and both literally and figuratively, and I didn't know who I was anymore. And it brought me to that point of like, do I stay and do this, or do I make the strides and the steps to do what I want to do? And
Right.
I mean, it takes a minute just because you have to plan. I'm a planner, of course. I don't necessarily like to jump into things, but if I'm feeling it, I will jump into something, but I do have to have a plan, because you know, if I do one thing, it might affect another thing. So I
Yep.
do kind of have to plan a little bit and then just let it happen. And then if I need to make a little switch or like change up some things, I totally will. Like, it is, that's how life is. You're always going to have to adjust.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
Yeah.
mainly
Did you work anywhere else before you?
um I did work a little bit with some family. That wasn't good for me either, so I did have to take a step back from that. And then before I found my current job, I was working like, I literally didn't leave Mod until last year. It was like last year in March. So it's been a year now, but I was working also at a steakhouse. So I was technically working like two jobs at the same time to make income, because again, Mod, it wasn't giving me hours, because I did change stores because I moved, but it wasn't giving me hours. The pay wasn't great, and I needed to pay bills. So I took up a hosting job at a steakhouse, and
Mm.
it was nice. It was good. But then I thought I was about to become like a full-time position
Mm.
there, but they kept flaking on me or like giving me false hope. And so I left Mod to do the steakhouse full time. And there was one time they scheduled me for a week that of only one shift, and it was 5 hours. And I was like, I can't live like that. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so then I was like, and then that's when I found this current job, and I said, peace out. And now
Yeah.
now I'm full time with it. I was only part time, but it's like a set hours. And so I was making
Mm-hmm.
like good money, and I was catching up and everything. But I kept telling them, I was like, I need full time, please. I need more hours. And they're like, we'll talk. And here I am now with it. So, and I, like I said, I love my job. Like, it has its ins and outs, of course, but I love
Mm-hmm.
my managers, and I know they love me. I can say that with confidence. And I'm very grateful for them and everything to give me this adulting opportunity so I can live in
Right.
this world and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to work at Canes during my senior
Ooh,
year. Yeah.
love
It was
Canes
my
food.
right. Yeah. I worked there during my senior year in high school.
Mm,
Um, I had never become more depressed during
yeah, I'm
that same.
telling you. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, like, fast food, it's just, if anyone could get a job that can make sure it can get them like steady with income, but it gives them the opportunity to do their passion, do not do food.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate to say that. I mean, it is what it is. People will agree with me or disagree with me. And I mean all types of food, like whether it's serving or it's fast food, whatever the case may be. I like I get it. It's a lot of money, especially serving. I get it. It's a lot of money, but at like what cost are you putting yourself
Mhm.
through? But I know,
Yeah.
again, everyone's different. Like, what works for them, and what doesn't. That's like, for me,
Yeah.
I can't do food. That does not work for me. It
Hmm.
may work for others, and that's great. Just, but food is just so draining for a person,
Yeah.
especially the like mindset that the corporations have, and then that customers have, and just the structure and the function that the place has, because you can't catch a break, and even when you do, you're reprimanded for it.
Hmm.
Or a customer walks in, you're like, I can't even get 5 seconds to just take a moment after that one initial rush. So
Yeah.
any advice I can
Yeah.
say, please don't work in food if you if it might hurt you a lot, because trust me, it hurt me a lot. So
Yeah,
yeah.
agreed. Yeah, no, I think one of the biggest reasons why I quit, I wanted to quit after like a week. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
I hated it so much. But the only reason why I stayed was because after applying to so many part-time jobs, just to find something to do during my senior year, at
Yeah.
least in the mornings, because I was homeschooled. So after I work in the mornings and then in the afternoons I get all my work done.
Yeah.
But I hated it so much, and I couldn't stand it. I think one of the biggest reasons why I quit was because I'm working with people who are in their early 20s, mid 20s,
Yeah.
people that are about to graduate high school, people that are either in college or graduated, and for me, I'm just like I was surrounded by people with no direction, and I was working 20 plus hours a week. It's also part time, but like to me, I'm just like this is kind of capping my growth right now. And I know I was still a senior in high school, and
Yeah.
I quit pretty much a month before I started college,
Nice.
and um, I'm like I need to be surrounded by like minded people, and all I'm hearing is people are in their 20s and they're content with doing this the rest of their lives. And I'm just like I can't. I want to continue excelling in life. Like this is just one season, and I wouldn't even call this a stepping stone. This is just one season of life. I'm doing this to save up money, and honestly, I got that job because I wanted to save up for a car. And and then I'm just like I'm surrounded by people who are just like, "Oh yeah, I'm mid-20s and I'm okay doing this for the rest of my life." I'm like, "No." Like how can you think that what you're doing right now is everything that the Lord has for you in your life? Like it's to me, I'm like there's always going to be something bigger and better, but you just
Mhm.
have to position yourself and posture yourself to be like, all right, I got this right here. How can I steward it so that when that right opportunity comes around, I can jump on it. I'm not just gonna be like, no, I'm okay. I'm comfortable with where I'm at. No, I mean like, there's always gonna be something that is gonna be that next big step. Um,
Yeah, and I
yeah,
mean, like, obviously, like, there's nothing wrong if people do want to do fast food and like stay in that. Like, literally, there's nothing wrong, because I mean, it was a chain that was created, and so like who would be working it? Like, just like it's the equivalence of like who would do the garbage for us, or who would clean up the rivers. Like, it's stuff like that. And like, so if people are comfortable with that, like, that's totally fine. But I
hmm
think the people who are definitely not comfortable with it, don't put yourself in that position unless you absolutely have to. Because when I was trying to find a job again, I was applying to places and no one would hire me, especially for a pay that I was like, I'm kind of worth, or I need to survive for my
right,
bills. And it wasn't until like I was like, I guess I'll apply to mod again, because I worked mod during COVID, left it, and then worked it again. And so I applied to mod, and they hired me because of course I had experience. I'm a manager and stuff like that. And so I was like, this is what it is. This is to make my income, but it's not my everything. And I literally had to change that mindset for me of like, this isn't my this isn't my life. And so if someone's going to complain, especially corporation, I was like, if they were going to complain about something, I'm going to be like, it is what it is. Like, I
yeah,
don't care. Like, I'm going to do the job that is tasked of me and what I'm paid for.
mhm,
And if you want more, you either give me more or you give it to someone else. Like, I'm still going to do my job. I'm still going to be helpful, but I just at a point I had to say, it's just pizza.
mhm,
It's nothing. It's not a gold medal. It's just pizza. It's not my everything, but I have to take care of it right then and there. But it's not my everything for the rest of my life.
yeah,
And I've had to learn that I can't give myself too big expectations of things. Like, obviously I have big goals, I have big dreams, but if I have myself in that mindset of, oh well, I'm gonna hit this big thing, I kind of set myself up for failure in my mind, because at one point I thought in my brain, obviously society puts this in women's brains more than anything, but I thought by the age of 21 I was gonna find a partner, and then by 23 I was gonna be married, and then by 25 I was gonna have a kid. Well, I hit 21, nothing. And then I hit 22, and then 23, and 24, and then now I'm 25, and I was like, whoa. And I learned things about myself too, but I was like, it's okay to have certain goals and like things, but don't put a timeline on yourself, and don't
Mhm.
you have to hit something at a certain point, because if you don't hit it, then you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, because then
Yeah.
you're like, well, that's it, that's all she wrote, and you're like, well, but there's always still going to be more, just in different
Mhm.
fonts and in different flavors and everything. So yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy because um, in Spider-Man No Way Home, Zendaya was the one that said, I'm paraphrasing the quote, but like, set your expectations low enough, and you'll never be disappointed. Because something along those lines. But um, I always was the type of person. My dad's definitely gotten on me about this over the years, of just
Mm-hmm.
having such like unrealistic expectations for myself and the people around me. And
Mm-hmm.
then when people don't show up or I am disappointed, I get like super upset. And it's just like, well, you need to work on that. Like, not everybody's gonna meet your expectations. Like, you have to be able to control your emotions
Yeah.
and really set realistic expectations so that if something doesn't go your way, you are going to have to be okay with it. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, something good will eventually come, but it's most likely not going to come in your own timing. And it's probably not going to look exactly the way that you want it to. Um,
Yeah.
it's tough because you definitely want to have all of these things done by this certain time. By the time I graduate high school, and that's the thing about the way that the world works is it's just like you reach these ages and it's almost like you're hitting these checkpoints where you're just
Yep.
like, by this age you have to have this, by that, by pretty much by the time you're 17 you have to figure out what you want to do, where you want to do it, and then over
Yep.
the next 4 years after it flies by, because they do fly by, you have to figure out what kind of career you want, and if you don't, you're kind of screwed. And by the time you graduate, you have to have pretty much a full-time job lined up so that you can work a full time job, pay off your bills, live, and work a 9 to 5, and then be able to live in a society for the rest of your life. And there really is no real freedom until really like retirement. And so for me, I'm just like, I have never lived a normal life. Like, my life has never been normal.
Mm-hmm.
I, the story that God wrote for me was very, very unique. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, everybody in my family, being stereotypical Indian family, either going into the medical field or engineering or lawyers or whatever, going to college for anywhere from 4 to 8 years. Or I'm just like, when my older sister was trying to figure out what she wanted to do for college, her and I were talking, and we're just like, neither of us are going to the medical field. We're not doing this because everybody in my family. And I'm just like, no. She went in. She went to Texas A&M, and she graduated with a degree in industrial distribution. She went to become an engineer, and now she is working in supply chain. For me, I went way off the rails.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like the first person in my entire family, pretty much all my friends, to pursue a not only a career but a degree in filmmaking.
Yep.
And everybody that's asked me, they're just like, "Wow, that's interesting." And so it's it's definitely been a concern for my parents to be like, are you going to be able to support yourself? And then along those lines, when you are, when, if and when you meet somebody, are you going to be able to support that person? And then,
Yeah.
are you going to, if you, and when you end up getting married and start having kids, are you going to be able to support a family? Like, that's the priorities. But also at the same time, I'm just like, that is obviously still a very high priority for me. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just like, I'm not going to settle for a mediocre life. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm trying to do the best that I can with what's right in front of me. But
Yeah.
my life has never been normal. And I'm like, I'm just going to own it at this point. So
Yeah.
whatever that looks like, I'm just going to do it.
Well, and I feel that like I'm basically like the black sheep in my family. Everyone does either construction or they're a realtor or just something that's so like heavy duty. And I'm over here like stories. Like I became creative and I'm like I I was the reader. No one reads in my family. I'm the reader. Everyone in my family wears glasses. I don't. And so I'm like and like I'm a weird one and they're just as weird, but I'm kind of more weirder, I would say. But I whenever the whole talk of this industry or like filmmaking and even acting, I was also hit with the like, well, what's your backup plan? And I was like, well, I could either do music or I mean, I like interior designing and my dad was like, well, okay, let's then for college you get your degree in interior designing or even still in acting, but you find a job that is stable enough. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And but then I just again I got to a point where I was like, but what if that's not my job? Like, what if my job is literally this? It's acting, it's filmmaking, it's stories. Obviously, yes, I have a job that is keeping food on the table and like I can pay my bills and everything. But I was like, well, what if there is no backup plan? What if this
Mhm.
is the plan? Like and the
Yeah.
backup plan? Because I literally can't think of what else I would do in life if I didn't do this industry.
Yeah.
And I had that talk with my newfound family where we were like, this is our calling. Like this is literally there's something telling us and just pulling us that this is what we're meant to do. And no matter
Mhm.
what, we are going to do it. Obviously it's going to take steps and it's going to take a while, but that's okay because we're doing it now. It's just in a different phase. It's in a certain phase, and then we're going to be going into our next one. And I also I growing up, and I didn't realize this until when I was honestly 24, and even recently now. I molded myself a lot. I molded myself in other people's expectations or what they wanted for me and
Mhm.
in order for them to be satisfied. And if I went outside of that, it kind of was like it was weird for them. And so when I finally discovered like this is what I'm doing and this is how it is and how I'm going to be, you just
Yeah.
have to deal with it. It made some people uncomfortable and it made people like kind of not talk to me or like stuff like that. And it's weird like once you discover who you are and you distance yourself from the things or the people that molded you and that like you didn't realize you were molding for
Yeah.
it's weird because you're like, whoa, who am I now and what are we now, like I don't understand what this relationship is anymore. And especially if people don't take accountability or like responsibility. And I learned, I was like, wow, I definitely was making myself a certain way for people so that they were happy and satisfied. But then once I discovered that for myself of like, oh wait, this is what I want to do and they didn't like it, it was so weird but eye-opening of like, okay, I don't know if this is the type of people I want in my life or
Mhm.
I just need a distance for now and then maybe we reconvene and like talk it out. But at the moment I don't need this kind of energy in my life, and so let's just take a step away and continue forward and everything.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard trying to be singled out, being asked all these different questions. Because at least for me, like my both sets of my grandparents, they immigrated from India back in the
Hmm.
'70s, and they they didn't have anything to their name, so they worked regular 9 to 5 jobs, working in New York City. My Both of my grandmas were nurses. My grandfathers, they worked in the city, and so when they did start having kids, they wanted their kids to have a better life for themselves,
Hmm.
and to them, and the way that the people around them and society was telling them, you have to get a degree, you have to be able to get a job. And so, and now that I think about it, I feel like I actually started with my mom, because my mom was the oldest on her side, and she wanted to be a social worker, and that was completely unheard of in on my mom's side, and or even at all within the Indian community, just because like you're gonna be kind of working in the slums of New York. Are you sure about that? Like that it's gonna be unsafe. You're gonna be working with some pretty crazy people. Why would you want to do that? By no means were like my grandparents 100% supportive of that, but like
Hmm.
my mom, like she knew that that's what the Lord was calling her to, and so I mean she did it. She loved it, and then she had me and my sisters, and she's just like, our story was that the hustle and bustle of New York just became too much for a growing family, and we decided to move here to Texas back in '05. And so and now that I'm reminiscing, I realize that the whole kind of like straying from the norm and really like kind of sticking out like a sore thumb and being like, you're doing what? Why are you doing that? Like pretty much getting out of your comfort zone. Now I realized kind of started with my mom, because
Yeah.
I'm just I I what she did was different, but what I did,
Yeah.
that was way off the deep end. And
Yeah.
you know, it's definitely interesting to see, like my grandparents' reaction of you're gonna be making movies, like you can make money from this. I
Yeah.
mean, if done right, you can make a lot of money from this.
Yeah.
Um, it's just like surrounding yourself with the right people, between crew and actors. I think that's very, very important. Um, and also, like once you find something that works,
Hmm.
don't try to mess that up.
Yeah.
Because I think of like Christopher Nolan. I mean, he's worked with relatively the same cast of people for as long as I can remember.
Hmm.
And I'm just, if you find a good group of people that get the job done right, and you're able to put out like a top tier product, don't try to mess that up. Like
Yeah.
obviously, the right people will come to you.
Yeah.
But if you find a good group of people, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. So with that being said, um, so you've been on both ends of in front of the camera and behind the camera. Do
We'll
you
see.
have a preference, and do you have a favorite phase of production?
Ooh. Okay. I definitely prefer being an actress. That's always gonna be my favorite. I feel like people see me more on the production side of things because I don't have a lot I think to show for acting, or at least I try to audition as much as possible, but people have mainly seen me do the production side of things, and I think they like me doing that, and I'm trying not to get stuck in that, but I always love to help. Don't worry, people, I love helping you guys on sets. But acting is like my priority. I love bringing characters to life and telling their story and everything. But production side of things, I love not only being a director, but I love being a first AD. And the reasoning behind it is because one, you kind of be, excuse my language, you be a bitch. You're the bitch on set, and people don't like you because you're kind of mean. Obviously, you're not mean, but you're the time of the production, and you get the ball rolling. And for me growing up, I was very much, again, that quiet person. I never had a lot to say. I couldn't say a lot, and no one listened to me. Now, this is where I discovered, like, oh, the reasoning why I kind of like this position is because people kind of have to listen to me, and I'm I'm I have an order and a structure of this set to make sure that it gets done accordingly, and it gets done not right in a way, but just that it's the focus is there and people are treating it with the utmost respect and care, because I go on people's sets as if it's my set, because I'd want
Mhm.
people to treat my set as if it's their set, no matter what
Yeah.
position, whether you're of higher hierarchy or you're the bottom of the barrel. Everyone is important. um
Yeah.
so those are like my all-time favorite positions. Is definitely first AD, but I love directing and everything like that. Phase of production. This was a hard one. I mean, I feel like always whenever filming happens, that's always the best one in my opinion, but I feel like that's a cop out because that's always going to be people's favorite ones. So I will say my favorite is honestly pre-production.
Mhm.
I really love tying everything together. I love planning. I love putting the puzzle pieces together that will then create the filming aspect. Because if you don't have pre production, you don't have filming. And then
Yeah.
if you don't have filming, then you don't have post production, you don't have a film. And so I really enjoy pre production. And it's hard. I mean, a lot of people don't like it because it takes time and it's very tedious, but it is my favorite because I love breaking it down and I love
Yeah.
getting it detailed until so that way when we're on set, it's a well-oiled machine.
Mhm.
Obviously, things will happen on set. It's not going to be perfect, but if it can be taken care of at least in pre-production, especially talked about, if there needs to be a plan B and a C, then whenever set does happen, you're covered. So
Mhm.
yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
one's your favorite? Yeah.
Honestly, I think I am gonna go with production because I think, you know, pre-production is good. Me being also a planner, I love to a certain extent, because it's very, very stressful. Like, do not get me wrong. If people are not communicating, you're
Mhm.
trying to figure out location scouting, you're trying to
Yep.
figure out your cast, you're trying to figure out the script, all these different moving parts, especially as I was an executive producer, like, there's a
Yep.
lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But I like production because it's the culmination of all pre-production finally coming into fruition. And it's like all of those months of planning and prepping and writing and really pr- planning for plan A through D or whatever is all coming together. And it's good.
Yeah.
Because when we've been when we have had filming projects, production has just been the most fun
Oh,
because I'm able to
100%.
have fun with cast and crew. It's just been fun, and it's just like I wish we could do this without the stress of pre-production, but also if you don't write, but like if you don't have a good production,
Yeah.
production will be a disaster. It's just
100%.
that, and I
Yeah.
think honestly, I feel like post-production is kind of like my least favorite,
Same.
because
So
yeah,
um
it
it's hard.
it's yeah,
the waiting is so hard, especially like waiting for the final pieces to be put together. Because like in pre-production, you're working on it. Post-production, like, and then during production, you're also working on it. And then post, unless it's a job that you're doing, you're usually waiting for someone or something. And I get antsy because not that I'm trying to rush people, but I'm just like, I want to see it so badly. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So post production, it's definitely brutal. That one's the tough one because it's definitely finally putting everything all together and fixing and finishing those puzzle pieces so they all just click and then you have the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, post production, it's a love hate relationship with me for it because I appreciate it and I understand it, but also I'm like I'm so impatient with it and
Yeah.
I've had to like ground myself to be like, calm down. You just need to calm down because you don't want to rush anything. Of course, you don't want to
Right.
put out a bad product and everything.
Mhm.
So yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Have you ever had to do any of the editing? Have you just
Oh yeah, whenever I was doing school, definitely did, and I love editing. Because I always liked the idea of making YouTube videos. And so
Mhm.
I do editing kind of, but not in the sense of like really professionally, I will say. So I enjoy editing, but now with projects, if someone has the time to do it and to help me with it, I trust I trust them so much. But like Rhea has helped me with editing stuff. Like she's really good at it. My computer sadly cannot handle editing or DaVinci, so I do have to rely on individuals or Rhea. But I, after learning like actually editing my film together with not only the cuts but the sound and the doing coloring and stuff like that, I again newfound appreciation for people who do that. And so whenever I do ask for things or like it's more so of me being curious so I learn the process of what you're going through instead of being ignorant, because I don't like there's people that can be ignorant where they're like, why is it taking so long? Well, it's taking this
Mhm.
long because of XYZ. And so I love asking questions and learning from people that do what they do because
Right.
I know I'm not going to probably do it 100% or probably do it as a full-time thing, but I can at least learn it so I can understand it. So then moving forward, there's that again communication, that boundary of and that respect of what one person is doing and what you're doing and everything.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Same with school. I mean, I've had to just edit certain projects.
Hmm.
I I cannot stand it. I just I can't.
Oh, but I love editing so much, like because
So.
when I think of my projects in my brain, I
Mhm.
already see it play out in a movie. And so sometimes I'm like, I already create the shots and I already know what it's going to look like. And so when I put it together, I already have it lined out in
Right.
my brain. So here it is on the computer. But then I had to flip that switch after learning with other editors and their mindset. And then, especially DPs, I definitely got this one advice that has lived with me forever, and it changed my mindset. Was I was working with an individual as a DP, and I was director, and I had a certain look or way with a shot, and I didn't know how to communicate it. And he would create the shot, and he would do that, and I was like, I was so not upset at anyone, but it was more so of me. But I was so upset because I couldn't. The shot that I envisioned in my head wasn't
Mhm.
coming out to what I thought I wanted it to be. And I said out loud, I said, I see it differently in my head. And he kind of looked at me and he was like, well, Bryanna, we're not in your head. And I was like,
Mm.
ooh, you're so right. I was like,
Right.
you're so right. What I'm thinking in my head is completely different from what is in another person's head versus what I do draw out, and then what is being filmed out there. And so I was like, you're so right. People are not in my head, and they don't want to be in my head. So I had to definitely change that mindset of where I was like, well, I see it this way, and I see it this way. Okay, and yes, you see it a certain way, but not everyone is in your head. You do have to communicate, and you do have to be open to what someone wants to capture or show you or have you hear and visually see and everything. So very grateful for that advice and that awakening, because if I don't think if I think if I never got told that, I'd probably be still thinking a certain way, unless like Rhea or my or like Dylan or Caleb, they would have, those are my other people, those are my family, they would have told me otherwise and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So with the short film that we just wrapped, like we literally just finished like last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah. When we were when we started pre-production in September, we were it was September, and then we were able to get everyone out by October. So that's what our production was, and we ran into some crazy big issues during production. The issues were we rented equipment from Colin because I'm
Mm,
just like, I've used it before, let me just use it as opposed to using like my own personal camera. Now realizing that that was the best option, but whatever. Um, we get to production, we start filming, and the cameras that we were using, um, it came with mics, but I thought that the cameras had internal mics. You know how like some Sony
yeah,
cameras, like the Sony A7 III, that are more for photography, they have their own internal mics. So I
yeah.
thought that these were the same case. However, I was sorely mistaken. It
Hmm.
These cameras came with like XLR cables that you just connect into the camera itself.
Yeah.
And one of our main primary shooting camera was a Canon, but it was a camcorder. So um, after our first day of filming, after like pretty much being really really happy with what we filmed, I go back and look at the footage, or actually no, I didn't look at it until the day after. I uploaded
Hmm.
the footage into a Google Drive, just shared it with everybody. And the next day, that was actually Kevin Peterson, because he was our editor at the time. He called me on that next day, and he's just like, "Hey, you need to call me right now." I on the phone with him, and he's just like, "Dude, none of the video has audio, and we only had mic audio." I'm like, "What?" I go back and look at everything. Every single WAV file from the boom mic was there. However, none of the video had audio. So
Ooh.
essentially, what we had to do was try to line up our boom mic audio because we had every single take. Try to line up our boom mic audio to the mouthing of people talking because we had
Oh,
people saying on camera, "Scene 1A, take 4," or whatever, and action, and then we would clap or snap or something like that.
yeah.
But there was no like we didn't. I didn't have a clapperboard, so we didn't know. We were really just kind of going off of people's mouthing. And we had someone doing an original score for this project.
Hmm.
And I told him after because I made I just said in our group meet, we were at production, thank you guys for your help. And then he's like, hey, I just want to see what timeline wise, how long before I can get a rough draft so I can start, you know, mapping things out and scoring and whatever. And I was like, surely we can get a complete rough draft from start to finish within 2 to 3 weeks. Sooner than later, 3 months go by, and we go through three different editors. And I am like, what is happening? And the only reason I actually remembered it because I was dealing with school was our composer saying, hey, just wanted to check up on the status of the project. And I'm like, oh my God, 2 weeks have gone by. We haven't even watched this thing. And then sooner or later, 3 months go by, and I'm just like, it was only like at the beginning of January that we were able to get a rough draft to him. And it now, after the fact, now that it's all said and done, I'm just like, I wish we could have done that so much sooner because we didn't do reshoots until like mid January. And our the film festival that we were planning on entering into, that
Mm-hmm.
final deadline was February 17th. So we were initially working with less than a month, and
Yeah.
then something came up. So the final piece was the scoring and the color grading, which I'm not wasn't the best at color grading, but we had someone who took care of that for us. Those were like our final pieces,
Mm-hmm.
and then we were just so close to being done, and that window is shortened from a month to 7 days, and then sooner or later we did not finish in time, and I'm just like, all right, well, there's always next year, I guess, but
Yeah.
all these things school didn't teach me. But
Yep.
nobody really taught me. And these are all things that have to be learned on the spot. And I'm just like, okay, well, stuff happens and you have to be able to be okay with it. And and now I'm just like, how can we apply all these lessons that we painfully learned from this past time and apply it to the next one so that we do not run into this problem ever again. And it's
Yeah.
painful.
It really is. And I mean, too, like, that's why, again, no hate to universities, but that's why, like, that kind of stuff I don't think really helps people because it's such a shortened course. Even like KD with it being intimate, it didn't teach us everything. Like, there's stuff that we're learning now still, and I'm still learning. But it does like open at least the door, but you're going to learn on sets, and you're going to learn when you become a PA, and then when you ask questions, because there's nothing wrong with asking questions. I love when people ask questions. I know I I feel a little weird when I ask questions because I feel like I'm dumb, but you're not, because how else are you supposed to know? How else are you going to learn? And even the people who are the most professional and they've been in this for years, they still ask questions. And that's why I love this industry, is because you are, yes, doing kind of like the same thing every day, but you're also growing and learning with everyone and with the industry, that there's no right or wrong answer because everything is always changing and evolving. I totally relate to you on that because my recent short film Contribution I just dropped about a week ago. I filmed that in July, and it's a 3-minute short. I filmed that in July. I was able to get it all cut together. I got color grading done. Like, a lot of it was put together and done. It was then up to sound. And mind you, was an unpaid project. So I'm a lot more patient with that stuff because I know how I am with unpaid things, but I try to do my best to like get things done or like be
Mhm.
communicative of it. But sound was my biggest thing. And the person I was gonna have do it, he keeps getting paid gigs because he's so good at what he does that I can't
Mhm.
get mad at him. Like, I'm like, I get it. I just wish, and that's where communication comes in. I was like, I just wish there was more communication, but I don't hate him. Like, it's nothing bad. And like, once he was able to tell me, like, and like he shared me the files, and I was like, okay, I gotta find a sound person. But then like life happens, and I kind of had to put it off a little bit, and then by the time I'm like, I need to revisit this, it's basically December, and I'm like, whoo, it's from July to December, and I finally like find a sound person that is able to like work with me, and then I find a composer, and that was another like month and a half until I was like, okay, it is what it is. I finally have it done. I'm so grateful and
Mhm.
appreciative of everyone. This is definitely a learning lesson, but this is also a thing in my brain of like, we, especially me and Ray, because it was me and Ray, like, it was an olive oil project. We were both like, we have to figure out a way that we can pay people or like figure out something, because yes, there's people that are able to do it for free, but if a paid thing comes on, I totally get it. Because trust me, if I got something paid, I'm working it. Like, but I was just like, how can we show up and help people so that way they are the help with us as well, whether it's paid or unpaid. But we do have to give grace of those of projects that are unpaid just because it's free work. But it can be a little frustrating because you have to start somewhere. It's like I can't start by paying you right out. Like I kind of have to start somewhere. And so it starts with yourself, and then you expand and grow with it with other people as you find crew and you find individuals, and then as you build it up, then you're like, okay, I can incorporate some type of pay, or let me do crowdfunding, and then it just keeps growing from there in general and everything. So I share you on that with frustration and everything. So yeah.
So what is your experience with crowdfunding?
I have not. Okay, well, actually, that's a lie. I helped produce a project that dealt with crowdfunding. It wasn't my project, so it was someone else's. And that one was pretty interesting because me and Rhea and Caleb and Dylan, we do plan to crowdfund for future projects, but we're doing research right now because it deals with money. So, but producing a project that was doing crowdfunding, that was a good, honestly, lesson to see because the director, he had never done crowdfunding. I've never really done crowdfunding, but he put it all together. He did the research, and I was able to ask questions, and I was able to like help him a little bit, but he really put it together. And just seeing like from his project, it's quote unquote a small budget, but it was a big budget in general, that especially that I've worked with for a project and produced. And seeing it even go past the crowdfunding amount, I was like, wow, this is fascinating. So people will give us money. I was like,
Right.
so the story's pretty good, and you give good visuals and you give good information. Like people will fund your stuff, especially like the whole like what is it called? Not benefits. What is it called? There's like little treats, or like there's little treats, like if you have like a poster of the thing, you'd be like, oh, a signed poster, but you have to donate $100, you know.
Like giveaways.
Yeah, like giveaways. There's like another name on Kickstarter, they're called rewards. I think they're called rewards. Yes, but they probably have multiple names at different crowdfunding stuff. But seeing that, I was like, okay, I have to do research, because the one that we used was Kickstarter, and that one, you had to meet your goal, and if you didn't get any money. And yeah, I know, and that's why I was like, I don't know if I would use Kickstarter, but we shall see.
Wait, so then what gives it back to each individual?
It gives it back to the original people. So like, say like if I had a short film crowdfunding on Kickstarter and you donated $5, you don't see that $5 kind of get taken out of your account until the crowdfund like event ends. And then if they've reached their goal. If they don't reach their goal, that $5 never leaves your account. Like it's never left. But it will once it hits their goal. The other thing with Kickstarter was they take 10% of the amount that you build. So say your goal was $3,000, they take 10% of that. So technically you don't have $3,000, it's less than $3,000. So even me and the director, we were like, I hope we can go over our budget, because then that money that is taken with the 10% actually brings us to our original goal. So
kind of a crazy amount.
I know. I was like, they take 10% of our stuff? Isn't that the whole point of this funding, so that we could get our money? Like what? Which that's why I was like, I need to research all these other like crowdfunding websites and like and stuff, because that one I had that experience and it wasn't bad. Kickstarter is really good visually, but just like logistically wise, I personally didn't like it too much. But I definitely am like, I need to do research for that, for crowdfunding in general, because I had someone else, I watched their project. They earned, they had a crowdfunding amount of like 10,000. They reached over it, but they were on a different site, and I was like researching that one. So I'm trying to find my pros and cons list of crowdfunding, and I'm always still learning with that. So
Yeah.
not too much experience at the moment, but definitely ask questions of like rates and people's stuff, and that's even what we're doing right now. Like we're building a little like document of like, okay, what are people's rates, what can we work with, or what would our budget be for this film and stuff like that, so that way we're not either undermining people, but we're not overdoing it and everything, or like asking for too much and then we don't get it and then we're like kind of SOL'd with the project, you know. So definitely research, ask questions, especially people that are in the industry. Ask them, and especially ask people who have done crowdfunding, because they can tell you their experience and everything. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, trust me, that's the next thing I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Right, because finances is how we afford to make a good quality project. Without it, you're still kind of using college equipment, which is fine, but it's not my number one, But also, I would like to be able to pay actors. I'd like to be able to pay our crew, to make sure that this project is worth their time. 100%. I totally agree. Yeah. I should probably do more research into it, because I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about people giving money.
I know it's so weird and it's so hard, but trust me, you just have to have like, if you know that your story is good and it's going to inspire people and people will enjoy it, then getting that money to bring it to life, like they want to have you bring it to life. Right. And so there's nothing wrong if you, trust me, I'm the same way. I can't, if people even like give me food, I'm like, thank you so much. Like, right. I'm like, I am so grateful for you. But money's a whole different ball game, especially just personal reasons with me with money and stuff. Like, but different, money's like a thing that no one really likes to talk about. And so, but once you are open to that and talking about it, it's okay. Like, you just, again, have to be honest, and you have to be open about it and be realistic as well. So
right, but also, clearly outlining exactly what you're using the money for.
Exactly.
Because the last thing you want is for people to give money and then you squander it, and you're just like, but you said you were going to use this for my money for this, and you blew it all on I don't know what. But that, because me and my co-producer, we've talked about doing it for our next film, or even the following one, but there's a lot of research that can go into it, and should probably look into that before we do anything like that.
Yeah, and depending on what like film or like what idea you guys have, the biggest thing I will say to please consider is budget for definitely art department, whether it's for the location or it's costuming, but definitely art department. And then definitely budget for sound, because sound is so important. And then definitely budget for food, for crafty. Because if you don't have good food or feed your people on set, no one's going to want to work. Like, the amount of times that I've had people help me for free, I was like, I'm giving them the best food ever. I'm cooking them a Chipotle bowl, or I'm cooking them hamburgers and hot dogs, or we're doing something so that way their bellies are full and they have coffee, especially coffee on set. Like, because I've done sets for free as well, but I was like, as long as they have food, I'm satisfied. Like, I mean, money's great, but I literally was like, please just feed me. I'm a hungry person. I just want food, please. Like, I'm that easy to please, honestly, on a film set. Also, don't harass me. But anyways.
Minor detail,
Yeah, minor detail.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
when because like when we were on our biggest day of production, one of my crew members, she bought like a 25 tailgate from Canes. Would you
Ooh.
prefer getting like snacks? Because that's what I brought. Snacks and water. That's what I brought. Or would you prefer like a full on meal?
So it depends on how many hours you're filming. If you're doing
Hmm.
like, if you're just filming for like 3 to 5 hours for the day, you really only need snacks. If you're filming more than 6 hours in the day, you need to give people a meal. So
Okay.
obviously have snacks on set because people will want to eat in between, but definitely give that time for either lunch or dinner and have people have a meal. And
Mhm.
I've learned like catering is easy, obviously, because it's already pre-made, and but the pricing of it is so much
Yeah.
more. So
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
learned on set that I'm like, I'd rather cook for my people because one, it's a little bit more like intimate and like love. Like it's just my showing of appreciation. I'm like, you're putting in so much work for me. Let me put in the work for by making this food for you. Especially those who have an allergy, whether it's lactose or dairy, or that's the same thing, or it's a gluten, or they're vegan or vegetarian, or if they are allergic to something, I make something or get something that's specific for them and make them feel like they're not alone, because I'm a picky eater. I grew up as a picky eater. I'm not as picky as I was when I was a kid, but food has always been a hard one for me. And so I always found that as long as I can have food that is satisfying for everyone on set, I know it's going to be a good and happy set. Because
Yeah.
if no one can eat, then no one can work. And
Yeah.
so, depending on budget of food and everything, but definitely do a meal for people if you're working more than 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I need to take that into account for
Yeah.
next time around.
Yeah, and definitely
Um.
create a Google form. So like
Yeah.
before you send out or you start production, send out a Google form of like, hey guys, please fill out this information. Let me know if you're allergic to anything. So then if someone does say like, I'm allergic to nuts, obviously there's
Yeah.
no nuts on set. Or if someone's like, I can't have gluten anything, then you're like, cool, I
Yeah.
need to get something that's gluten friendly or gluten free. Or if
Mhm.
someone's like, I have celiac disease, then you're like, okay, we can't do cross contamination because
Right.
again, the food is the fuel of the body. So
Yeah.
if you don't
Right.
have that for people, you don't have people working, honestly, or at least to the percentage you would like people to work at, and for them and what they would want to work at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, of course.
Um. So moving forward, do you have
Mm-hmm.
any upcoming projects in the pipeline?
Ah, actually, there may be a couple. There is one that I need to start planning. Like I have it already planned out. I just need to really plan it now.
Hmm.
There's a I want to make a music video, and so there's a
Oh.
song by Alex Warren called Eternity that I want to create a music video for, and I want to use Rhea and her boyfriend as the main cast.
Hmm.
Um, so, but I've always been interested in making a music video, and so I was like, let me put that together. And so there's that for me, and then we're gonna do for each of us, Rhea, Dylan, and Caleb. We're gonna do projects for them because next year we have a short film we want to film. It's about, I will say, about 20 or so pages. Um, but it's fantasy, so it's definitely need money for that.
Yeah.
And a lot of pre-planning. So we are like, let's get a lot of little stuff in so we get a little bit more in our repertoire and to
Yeah.
showcase it for people before we're just like, hey, do this giant project with us. So we're gonna do 4 mini projects, especially because Rhea, she'll be interning somewhere in August up until basically Christmas. And so we were like, let's get some mini projects done, so that way we can do our big project. So
Yeah,
basically have 5 projects in the pipeline.
that's awesome.
Thank you, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. We're thinking about doing a sci-fi. However,
Ooh.
we have no idea how we're gonna do it.
Oh man. Well, depending on I guess just the scope of it or what's the story, like again, that just comes with planning and budgeting. So if you need a beta reader, I don't mind being a little reader and everything. So I always love reading people's scripts and like just seeing their stories and giving
Yeah,
like grammar advice or just like little red marks on
yeah,
their script or saying hey, because again, I'm also a producer, and so I'm the kind of producer that is like realistic. Like I have to be logical and realistic. And I'm like no hate to people who dream big, but I have to also be like, okay, but how are you gonna make XYZ happen? You know. So I do hit with the whole like I make you think, but I try to be nice about it.
yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
because we're just trying to figure out like we need VFX artists, we
Oh,
need a lot of CGI people, and how are we gonna realistically film outdoors for a sci-fi movie if we don't have a proper green screen? And what is that gonna look like? How are we gonna do that?
yeah,
And that really goes to the budgeting and what that is going to look like.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
I will say, just like if you if you do know some VFX people, and even if you don't, that's totally fine. But at least, yeah, start looking into like how much does that cost or how does that work, and
yeah,
have meetings with those people because, again, like you said, you're learning. You're always going to be learning. So, and sci-fi is hard. Sci-fi's hard. Why would you want to
yeah,
do that?
yeah. No, I mean like Ready Player One has probably been one of my like favorite movies.
Oh, that one's a
Um,
good movie.
yeah. Um, I've always loved like Transformers,
Yeah,
any like the OG Marvel movies. Like those are like my favorites.
yeah.
But like how do we do that without
No,
any budget?
literally,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's going to be the hardest thing. So even if you do have to create a little bit of budget, at least you can try to pay people or like give a little bit of something. But sci-fi's going to be hard. That one's a hard one.
yeah, yeah,
But I wish you all
yeah,
the best.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome, of
It's gonna
course.
be interesting.
It simply is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we're, I guess, wrapping up,
Hmm.
do you have one final message that you'd like to share with other people of the younger generation, or people that are just wanting to get started in the film industry, but they don't know how to? What advice would you give those people?
Ooh, I would say first and foremost, breathe. Just live and breathe. Whether you're an actor, you're a filmmaker, breathe. It's okay. Don't rush yourself. Don't create high expectations that you have to hit. You're doing this because you love doing this. So just live in that moment because you're going to miss it. So that would be my biggest thing is just to make sure you breathe. It's okay. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Um, yeah. So thank
Of
you really for joining me, and thank you
course.
guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I always try to end every episode with the same thing. Um, from Numbers 6:24 through 26. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe for more. Thank you, Bryanna, so much for joining.
No, thank you for having
And
me.
thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And stay tuned for daily content. And when I release this video on Wednesday. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much.